Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Marvel's The Defenders Season 1, Episode 8. It is the season finale, and it is simply called The Defenders. So, full spoilers for the episode, and of course the whole season at this point, as we go ahead. So, well, first things first, we actually forgot to talk about the flashback at the start of the last episode in the last review. It popped into my head as I was watching the finale. I was like, oh yeah, we never talked
Yeah,
about that flashback. Admittedly, I don't think I've got a whole lot to say about it.
I don't think that much really happened. I think all it did was showing that Elektra used to be a good person, now she's not, because she did have this relationship with Stick, and then she killed him anyway.
It was partly that. I think it was partly. I think it was more to do with her relationship with Matt and how like they're both kind of
Yeah,
like one's more extreme than the other, and it's kind of like they're never-ending tug of war of pulling each other to their side,
yeah,
kind of thing. And of course, we also at the end of the last episode seemed to just kind of take the decision to blow up the building as done, because it kind of ended that way. It kind of, the music ramped up as Daredevil made his final point, but we do actually start this episode with sort of Luke still needing to be convinced a little bit, which honestly I'm fine with because it actually made complete sense for his character.
yeah,
And all the argument points that were brought up were fairly reasonable. Claire, of course, sounded like she was on his side, and then like, but, and just his face as she says, but, was amusing. So, I was kind of right about how this episode was distributed, in that two-thirds of it were the big final climax, but then there was a solid 20 minutes at the end that was all epilogue, all
yeah.
aftermath, which I think we need to have, just given everything that went on this season, and
Right.
it gave all the side characters a chance to react to what happens in the final battle, which I thought they did a really nice idea here of making sure the other side characters who weren't involved in the final battle at the police station were kind of monitoring it on the police radio.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some issue because they kind of just seem to be wandering around the police station free, just looking at all these case files and stuff. And
They do that feels like I'm going to justify that by saying that because they make it quite clear early on in the episode that, oh wait, this is a big thing, all the police are showing up, and it's like, oh, we need bomb squad, evacuate the radius, and all the
you
rest
think
of
there's
it.
just no one left in the
Yeah, I
station.
think it's just a skeleton crew actually in the station, and that's why they're kind of just
All right.
sauntering in and looking at case files. I did like though, because we have Karen looking at stuff, and someone walks in the foreground. You don't quite see it first, and I'm glad it was not Foggy. I was glad it was someone of another show.
Do you know what? It kind of made me notice how little the side characters have actually interacted outside of their shows.
Yeah, yeah.
Which because they've all been in a room for the last like three episodes.
Yeah, and they've not really spoke to each other. Yeah, which is why I liked this though, because it was finally okay. Right, two characters from other shows
Yeah,
are
it's
actually.
it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like I
Yeah,
like it because it's happening, but it makes me notice how little it's happened for the last few.
yeah. It really feels like something that should have happened, like when they all first got there, where they like, maybe in the
Yeah,
first.
introduce themselves.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so you're here because of Jessica? Why are you here? My lawyer friend's kind of involved. I can't really say why. Like
Yeah,
there should have been some awkward like dancing
I
around that
think
maybe
I
at the
think
start.
this point I'm getting at here is kind of how I feel about this episode in general. I like a lot of it, but
Hmm.
at the same time, it makes me feel like I've got more problems with the show as a whole now that it's finished.
Okay, okay, but we'll get to
Yeah,
that when we're wrapping up. Um, but no, I liked them interacting, and I liked because I think the reason why I liked it is while the fighting's going on. There's one moment where it cuts to like it's the four of them. It's the two Daredevil characters, Foggy and Karen, and then it's Malcolm and Trish who are sort of watching back at the police station. And I'm like, why do the others not have anyone there? It's because they're all involved in the fighting. Because Misty and Claire are there, and obviously Colleen's there.
Colleen.
So all the others are actually involved in the fight itself, which is fine. It actually made it this weird tiered thing where you've got the main heroes down in the cave, and then you've got like the B tier fighters actually fighting like Marakumi up in the because they're trying to plant the bomb and
they had Bakuto.
oh sorry they had Bakito, yeah, right, you're right. Marakumi was down in the cave.
Yeah,
His final moment came in what I like to call the video game section of the episode, where it's the fight in the elevator, which I'm
yeah,
not complaining about. I actually enjoyed it. We got fighting on the elevator. It gave it that kind of Streets of Rage type of feel.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it separated into tiers, but it cut back to them at one point during the fighting, and I liked that because if anything, I think there should have been more of the side characters in the season, because I think what it really did for me when it cut to them, it was like, okay, this is why all the heroes care about the city. It's like, yeah, it's easy to say, oh, they just don't want millions of people to die, but we need to see the people who we care about and who they personally care about. So
Right.
cutting to Foggy and Karen, cutting to Trish, that puts it in perspective for why they're fighting. And I think it shows you how vulnerable the other people are. Because as much as, okay, the bad guys we're fighting might be tough enough to bring us down, we're typically not that concerned about the hero's well-being too much. Because, Luke is bulletproof.
Yeah.
It has to be about
They're
who he's
all
fighting
kind
for.
of, like we expect them to get out alive because
Yeah.
of who they are.
It's the classic Superman thing where you don't typically worry about Superman's well-being, but you worry about who he cares about. You worry about those things. So no, and then that side of it, I liked that they did it, even if it feels like there should have been more throughout the season to really build it up. I don't necessarily think there should be more episodes. I just think maybe some time should have been maybe better distributed. Maybe the couple episodes that were shorter, maybe give them a few more minutes to just
Or take away some of the hand stuff that we weren't really feeling.
keep the villains a bit more mysterious maybe. Since I mean, admittedly, I think if they did that, we might complain that we should maybe get more of them for just to sort of understand the stakes a little bit better. But the weird thing is that we got a lot of them, and I don't know if the stakes were. I mean, sure, they said that if they take everything out of this place, this ancient Kunlun, and it wasn't just the one dragon, because they were talking about multiple beasts. This was like ancient beings before.
See, I got the impression that like this was one of them, but there used to be a bunch of them all over the world, and like all those different cities that they said that had fallen in the past.
Maybe
Like there was one under each of those cities.
Gao definitely referred to this place as like having multiple, though. She definitely, the way she said it implied multiple here. These beasts. I mean, maybe I'm misreading what she said, but
yeah, when she said these beasts, I thought she meant like these, like this is one of them, but as a species.
Okay, maybe. I don't think it matters all that much.
Not really. We don't really see the one anyway, regardless.
Yeah, because they only have one part of set that they can move around in. But I mean, ultimately, I don't really care that much because I've never really been that invested in the whole Kunlun Iron Fist hand backstory.
I don't know why I'm arguing it that hard. Like I said, I don't really care either.
Yeah, it was only because you made a whole thing in the last review about there being the one.
Right. No, but I do like because if I'm right in remembering, like I said in the last one, that it was the Undying.
Yeah.
I like that it's these things, the Undying, that gives them their immortality.
Yeah, that's why it's dead, because they keep stripping it from its resources. Yeah, because they're literally cutting up the bones of this thing and taking it.
It's all in the marrow.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, if Danny killed it, like, does an Iron Fist always kill one of these things every time they ascend? Or what? Yeah. Maybe that's something the comics can tell us, but the show didn't make it very clear.
It's a bit unclear, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it's unclear. Because, anyway, what I was getting to, they say that if they take everything from this place, New York will fall. Like, it'll cause like a massive thing. Like
structurally, it'll collapse, but not straight away. It'll weaken, and then over time will collapse. I
don't think it's a physical thing. I think it's more that the energy from this thing's like holding up the city. But when it goes, it'll cause an implosion of some kind, or like. This is the problem,
again,
though.
This is why I'm not super into this episode. There's a lot of things where I'm like, I don't quite get it.
We're describing it, and we're doing it the best we can, but they don't actually make it all that clear. I mean, they say, the city's going to fall, and that's pretty simple, but they don't really say how.
But it doesn't even feel like the city's going to fall immediately. It's like, it's going to be some time.
Yeah, and it made a couple of moments towards the end where, like, I think it's clear as, you saved all these people, or something like that, or someone says that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, in theory, I agree, but I don't really feel...
It doesn't feel like it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And I know I complained last episode, I was like, I hope it doesn't do a light in the sky sort of thing, but in a way, at least there's a tangible thing there where I go, they stopped that.
I don't need that. I just needed them to actually clearly define what the stakes were. And in a way they did, but they didn't really clearly define why the stakes were stakes.
I don't really get it. They're like, okay, so eventually the city will collapse because this gets hollowed out, but not right away, only when we're all finished, and then...
Yeah, I think the problem is we only see them cut up a little bit. I feel like they had to be doing it longer so that maybe we start to see the effects, but we didn't really see the effects ever.
Right, but the thing's huge. They'd be cutting for ages.
Well, yeah, but they can make that. That's the
Right.
that's assuming they do everything up until this point that way. I'm saying if they'd rewritten it so that maybe they got down there halfway through the season, and slowly over the last couple of episodes we start to see things happen in the city that show us that something's actually affecting something.
More of these earthquakes.
Yeah, more earthquakes. Basically, is what I'm saying. But as it is right now, it's just kind of like. And it makes me wonder what the hell was that first earthquake then, because they never got to it.
Right, because it feels like it was just them discovering the wall, like them attempted to get in the door, I assume.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have to assume it's just them attempting to get in without the Iron Fist.
Yeah, and it just reacted, I guess.
Yeah, but I feel like showing that, like, you know, as an effect of what they're doing, like even if it was just earthquakes again, would have been more effective because they'd have gone, oh, things are getting worse.
The really sad part is that back in the first episode, I talked about how much I liked that ending because it felt like, oh, this is big. They're starting to set up these stakes and they're starting to show how big this is that's going to happen. And it kind of feels like since then, that's kind of went away. Like they've had the personal stakes where they're looking after people that they care about, and it's really been
capitalized on it.
It just kind of seemed to forget about it.
This is kind of like how I feel like, you know, the end of episode 3, the hallway fight, and we were like, yeah, it was pretty good, but it doesn't feel like that's the peak, and you know, and I'm looking at it now and going, I don't know, I don't think anything was, you know, in terms of just choreography of a fight scene, was that amazing, that much better.
Not better. I think this fight was solid though in this episode.
It was all right. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying, like, you know how I remember feeling at the end of episode 3, it was like, oh, that was pretty good, but I feel like they've still got a moment that's going to wow me later on. Because that wasn't the moment that wowed me, and it never came. There
was some good stuff, though. I really liked that 360 shot. It went round a couple of times. The
360 shot was nice.
Yeah, it really felt... And again, it's kind of like what I liked about the last episode, what I like about this one. It's the hero's choices and journey for the most part. Danny's obviously a little bit different, because Danny's just kind of like reacting to what's going on. Again, he's not very proactive in this episode. He just kind of... reacts to like the others showing up, but I liked all the build up. I liked them going down the elevator and like discussing their plan, and then, you know, Jessica's there on her own, and the other two jump out, and like, you know, it really felt like the end of like an 80s action movie, for better and worse. And by worse, I kind of mean like the low budget feeling of it, because it did kind of feel like just this big one fight in a cave.
It did. It was the first time where I really felt, okay, we're in a set here.
Yeah, which doesn't bother me too much if the fighting has emotion behind it, and some of it did, some of it didn't. But I will say when I really felt the budget was when a couple of the CG shots came in later on in the episode. Namely, looking down the elevator shaft, like the big pit, when like people were falling down it. As much as it was great that Jessica was like holding onto the elevator, like that was fun stuff, but the actual shots of things falling down, it looked a bit rough.
Also the building coming down.
The explosion, which honestly, it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. I don't know if you felt a bit uncomfortable with this moment.
I think...
Because this show's whole thing's about protecting New York, and we end with this image of a building collapsing.
I feel like that's supposed... I mean, the ending kind of undermines it, but I feel like that was supposed to be the point. That was what Luke was fighting for. It's like, no, we don't want them to see us as terrorists. Because that's kind of what they did here. But then the ending kind of just brushes that away. It's like, never mind.
It never does anything with it. I mean, it doesn't make me, like, when I say it makes me uncomfortable, it doesn't make me that much uncomfortable. It's just, it's impossible not to think of 9/11 as you see a building, especially one in New York, when the entire show's thing's been about, we all love New York, we want to protect New York, and then we have this building crumbling, and it's just like, this, you know, this skyscraper specifically, and it's like, okay, right, so you're using that imagery, but I don't really feel like you've backed it up with...
Right, like I said, I feel like it hinted at it with Luke, but then it never actually did anything with it afterwards. Because it literally just went, all right, forget all about that.
That was, because that was the thing. Like, people in the episode kept talking about, like, Claire said, or not Claire, I think it was Misty who said, like, the only way this ends is, you know, either in a jail cell or in a cemetery. And, like, there's all these stakes, and the cops outside, the captain's like, oh, if you even still have your job, Misty, after this. And it keeps talking about the stakes and how this is unrecoverable from destroying a building, also, even if your intentions are good. But here's the thing. How did they ever actually find out that anything good came of this? Like, how does the authorities even know that they stopped anything? I don't
know. I've got a few problems here. Like, right, so all the cops, you know, they're trying to get into the building. They're like, we can't get in. It's all on this lockdown. It's all bulletproof glass.
Until they get in.
Until Misty decides to just shoot the door handle. What? And then at the end, you know, all the bomb squad or whatever, they're all running in, and they're like, come on, you're under arrest, basically. And like, what's going on here? And Luke Cage is like, no, can't let you do that. And then they're outside and everything's fine.
Yeah.
I don't get
Well,
that moment at all.
yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the Luke Cage change mind there at the end so much, mainly because then Danny says, "Yeah, time's running out," and then we see the clock's like like 2 minutes left or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a logical decision. It's like, oh right, okay, there's no actual time to go back and get him. We have to just get out.
No, 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 no. But Luke's standing up to the bomb squad and going, "No, I can't let you do that." And then them all just being outside.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a fault in us not seeing that change of plan, but I think the information is there to deduct why that changed.
Right. It just felt clunky.
No, clunky's fair, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's a fault that the choice was made.
No, no, no. No, I'm not
Yeah.
criticizing the choice itself.
So here's something I didn't know. I'm going to have to look up and see if this is something in the comics. But Misty loses an arm.
Oh yeah, no, she's got a cybernetic arm in the comics.
Is that a thing in the comics? Alright, I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm sure she's got a Stark arm.
So that came out of nowhere for me. I'm like, oh shit, Misty just lost an arm.
Because I remember when she was originally cast, and obviously we saw the first pictures, and people online were going, she's got both arms.
Right, okay,
two,
was
two
that a thing?
regular
Okay.
arms. That was a thing at the time.
Oh, interesting. Well, now we've got a reason for her to get her fancy arm. So
Yeah.
look forward to Luke Cage season 2. Or I could see her being an Iron Fist next. Because
Maybe.
we've seen her and Colleen kind of bond a little bit, and like she seems to owe her a debt, and Danny seems to be the one who's going to be footing all the bills for.
I wonder if they'll get their own show, like just announced.
I mean,
In the same way, like
yeah.
the Punisher got his just announced after Daredevil, when it's like, okay, now it's relevant. Now that it's public, here's his show.
I can see it, and I mean honestly, like I wouldn't mind a show with those two, maybe even Claire as well, like as the medic, like have a sort of.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm not criticizing that. I'm saying I can see that being where they pop up.
Well, I
I
can
don't know
see
if
it.
that would be next.
But I don't think they're going to shut them out of the other shows either, though. Like, here's the thing. I think you can put Misty in Luke Cage, or not, sorry. I think you can put Misty in Iron Fist and not feel like, why is Luke Cage not around? But if you put Colleen in Luke Cage, you'd be like, well, where's Iron Fist? Because they're a couple.
Right.
Whereas Misty feels like, okay, yeah, she's friends with Luke Cage, but you buy that she's got her own
It's
thing.
the same way
going
that
on.
Claire kind of bobs around all of them.
Yeah.
Like you kind of just buy it because she has connections, and now here you see, okay, Misty's got connections through this.
Yeah, I can see, because if her and Colleen are going to become buddies, I can see that being maybe an Iron Fist thing, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's something we'll like in Iron Fist season 2, is we'll see them and her actual Iron Fist.
Alternatively, we'll be going, why didn't they just do it in their own show? Because now we've got to sit through it under some incompetencies.
Well, that's assuming it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
That's assuming it's going to be bad.
Just,
Because here's the thing, like, I'm not sure, because we keep talking about how these shows, the 13 episode seasons, are a little bit too much. Maybe actually giving that pair like a good proper plot in one of these shows would be more beneficial overall than separating them out to their own show. Like, maybe you give like 3 or 4 episodes of Iron Fist, say, to really focus on them, like where it really becomes their centric episode. For, a few times in a season. Rather than saying, okay, let's do another 13 episodes, and okay, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad, but I don't know. But we're at the point now where we're going to have this was the 5th show technically. I kind of not count this one though, because it's like the team up. Because I was going to say Punisher's the 5th show, but technically this is the 5th show. But
right, no, I see what you're saying.
But we're at the point now with technically 6 shows. Like, do we want a 7th and then have them all going on, and then from there, do we want another spin-off where we have an 8th, and then do we keep going? I know folk want a Moon Knight. They think Moon Knight would fit in with this world, and sure.
I don't necessarily need anyone new introduced yet. Like just straight up, I'm happy just to go. Okay, these two have a good pairing. Let's give them a show. In the same way that Punisher didn't just get. It wasn't just here's a Punisher. So Punisher was in Daredevil, and we spin it out of that. I think if we do a Moon Knight, it has to. I feel like at this point it kind of has to be a bit more natural.
I don't know. I think it'd be standalone. I could just.
I mean, it could, but I don't know. Just coming out of nowhere now feels like it kind of upsets the balance when you've got so much going on.
Actually, I disagree. I actually think, if anything, I'm sick. Like, I almost think it's a bit ridiculous now if we keep getting, because it's almost like, oh, there's a new interesting character introduced. Oh, I bet they're going to get spinned off onto their own show. I actually think it's more interesting if you just have them develop independently, and then they'll team up later. They'll end up interconnecting later. I think that could actually be more interesting. But we're getting away from this episode, so let's dive back.
Dial back a bit.
So no, I think the fighting's good. I like most of the character stuff from the main heroes. But the actual plot and the stakes leave a fair bit to be desired, and like we say, we wish there was more of the side characters intermingling. It kind of felt like it focused the season as a whole. I mean, focused on so much of like let's like have them fighting about how to deal with the hand instead of focusing on a lot of other things that would have actually propelled the finale. Because even if we can't have like more budget to do some big grander fight, but if you do set up the stakes in a more coherent way that's more clear, then you know you get a lot out of it just with the emotion, even if you don't have more actual money and like fancy things to play with. Um, I mean, I will say I do think it was good that Colleen did get to kill Bakuto herself. Like she got to. I mean, it wasn't quite 1-on-1, but she got to do that with this, you know, away from Danny. She got to take that
Right.
fight and end that herself, which is good. I mean, it suffers a little bit, of course, because we didn't really like Bakuto. We didn't like that plot. That was when her plot got really murky.
Just
You know,
glad it's over with now.
yeah, no, it's over
Hopefully
with.
for good this time.
Yeah. So you know, I like. I mean, I still enjoyed the episode quite a bit. I like the emotion that a lot of the scenes played because obviously we get to the point where Daredevil stays down because he thinks he can try and talk sense into Elektra, or he's willing to die with her. And she's like in this weird place as well where like is she evil, is she not? And it's like yeah, she is still like because during the fight she starts talking to him about oh but now we'll be together forever because we'll be immortal or we'll die together. Like it does kind of feel like this tragic romance thing going down where like you know she doesn't really have any intention of doing anything else. But that brings into question like our previous two episodes of
This is again, like I said, I was enjoying it while I was watching it, but then after I finished, the more I thought about it, the more problems I have because it's like, okay, what was the purpose of making her the villain here? Like, you know, that shock twist of her coming out and killing Alexandra and her being the
well
villain.
yeah here's the thing, what does Kelly and Alexandra actually achieve for the rest of the season? Now that we've seen the rest of it and we've
Right.
seen what it's done with it, what did it achieve?
I don't think it achieved much at all.
It gave us that shock twist in episode 6, but that's it.
And and then ultimately it kind of goes back and goes, what was the point of Alexandra's character as a whole?
Yeah.
Other than to bring back Elektra and introduce her, what did she actually do? Really?
Nothing. I mean,
Nothing that none of the other men, like nothing that Gao couldn't have done, for example.
yeah. But it's sad because she was far more interesting, and then she kind of sunk to their level, and then just as she was starting to get interesting again, gone, and then they've went on this tangent, and it's kind of like they wanted to do that for shock value, but they didn't really have anything to follow up with that made a lot of sense dramatically or anything like that. And here we are in this final where we have these like these heads of the hand, the three that are left, and they're kind of mediocre. They're mundane. I mean, Gal was fine in Daredevil, but when she was in Daredevil originally, I never thought, oh, she's the big bad, like one of the big bads at the end of this. I always feel like she's like a, you know, a deputy.
She was just part
to
of the operation.
Yeah, there's someone bigger than her. Like she was hinting at something bigger. So when it got to like Iron Fist, it's like, oh, she's still one of the main dogs, and then it gets to this, and it's like, no, she's one of the main dogs. It's like, okay, I always thought she was just teasing something bigger,
Yeah.
and instead it just kind of felt like, here it is, like. So it's unfortunate. I hate to end feeling kind of negative because I actually did, for the most part, enjoy watching the episode, and I thought the hero stuff did work quite well. It's just
This is how I feel this way about the season as a whole as well, though. Like I mostly enjoyed watching it, and I thought I was having a good time. But then, by the time I've got to the end and I think about how things actually came together and how things worked structurally as a whole, I'm going, I don't know. It wasn't as great as I thought it was as I was watching it unfold once I got to the end.
I think it's because you watch it and you think, okay, they've got a plan and they're building to whatever it is, and it kind of get to the end and feels like they didn't really have much of a plan.
It never delivered on the promises, did it?
The writers feel like Iron Fist himself. There wasn't really much of an end game in mind. It was just kind of
Yeah.
just what it is. Like there was no like they had the one big shock twist that Alexandra gets killed that achieved nothing, and then the rest of it just kind of played out as you would more or less expect. And some of it made for some fun moments and stuff. And obviously we like the characters. I think that's the big selling point outside of Iron Fist.
That's what keeps you going.
Is we like the characters, and that includes the side characters. We like Foggy, we like Karen, we like Trish, we like all these characters. Hell, we like Colleen. We don't even like Iron Fist, but we like Colleen. And that's what keeps it working. And obviously, so we have this thing where the building explodes. The effects a little bit weak. In parts, I thought the final moment of it was okay, but the first thing with the camera was like tilting up, and it was
I think it was okay once it got to, there was just a lot of dust and smoke at the end.
yeah,
Once you couldn't really see much of it, and there was just bits. Those bits look pretty good.
yeah. And then of course it's like, okay, Daredevil. I mean, we know he's not dead. He's getting season 3, so we're pretty confident that he's not dead.
Yeah.
By the way, I have to make a complaint here. And not about the show, but about some idiot who wanted to spoil this for people and made a cut. Because I went into this episode expecting something based on a comment I saw online. So there was just a sarcastic comment about, oh, I guess Iron Fist isn't so immortal, and I went, oh, I'm excited now. And only to be bait and switched, and Daredevil's the one who seemingly goes down.
That guy is a dick, because he gave you the hope that you thought you wanted, and then it was like, nah, no.
I had hope. Ah, dear. So we go through this whole thing, and as much as we know Matt's not actually dead, because of course he's not, but I did like the whole thing where they're coming into the police station, and like, Jessica comes in, and so her folk are like, oh, happy to see you. Everyone else walks in, and then Foggy and Karen are just like standing there distraught.
I love how it cuts just between them and the door, and it just waits on the door.
And part of me almost thought maybe he will look at the last second to surprise everyone. Like that's when they'll reveal.
Because we're going, he's not really dead.
Yeah. Instead, they kind of did a Daredevil season 2 thing, with Elektra, where it just has that final little moment of like, oh no, he's alive. Cut to credits.
Yeah, and I kind of obviously he had to be alive. Don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing that, but it felt kind of cheap where they kept telling us the only way out was that elevator. That was the only way out, and then he's just out.
I think physically, yeah. I think there'll be like a mystical sort of exit that he got out or something like that.
Maybe
that'd be my guess at this point. I really don't know. I did like the whole the Empire State Building was lit up red, which
yes,
I don't know if that was intentional. Like, like it doesn't really feel like Daredevil earned a name
honor.
for himself. Yeah, where they would do that, but it was nice on its own. Especially since there was a green and purple building nearby it, and I thought, oh, was there a yellow one?
Yeah, but do you know what was less nice about that shot?
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Danny Rand. That's it.
What bothered you about? I mean, I hate him as much as the next guy, but
it's because he's sitting there, he's crouched over on the building, and it's supposed and it's all silhouette, and you see the red build, the red in the background, and it's supposed to be like, oh, it's Daredevil, he's all right, and then
it does. It feels that way.
That's what it's supposed. It's supposed to make you feel that way, and then his hand lights up, and you're like, for God's sake, he's trying to be Daredevil.
Well, I think that's the point, because obviously his final message was protect my city. So they're
and
all
he had
maybe
to take it bloody literally, didn't he?
So they're all. Well, I think he wanted them to take it literally.
Do you think you think he actually wanted him to replace him as Daredevil?
That's not what he said. He said protect this city.
Right.
Him taking that literally is not him reenacting Daredevil.
No, I know, but the way he's sitting up there and he's trying to be Daredevil, he's trying to fill that void.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't negate what he's still doing what he asked him to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Daredevil asked him to be Daredevil. You're mixing two.
No. I'm saying Iron Fist interpreted it wrong. He's gone too far. When Matt said protect my city, he meant do it in your way, protect it as Iron Fist.
Of course he did, but that doesn't. I don't think he didn't interpret it right. He wants to take up that mantle because he's inspired now, which honestly is far more interesting a motivation that he's ever had.
I can't argue with that.
In fact, I think Daredevil season 3 might be last out of the planned things. Like, because we've got season 2 of all the other shows. I think Daredevil might be last because I like the idea that we're going to go through all those shows with them all thinking he's dead, especially for Iron Fist.
Yeah, okay.
Especially for Iron Fist, because for Iron Fist, if that is going to be a big motivation for him, that might make him interesting in season 2.
It might, and I think it has to have Daredevil be kept away at least for Iron Fist, because otherwise, what's the point in this final moment for him? That's clearly set up. This is his mindset now. This is where he is, and
yeah, because he says to Colleen, "This feels like home now," so he's going to stay and he's going to protect the city. He's going to try and do what Daredevil did. So obviously, one thing we not interpreted, because it's not interpreted, it's just visually something we got wrong, is that Jessica's window was not boarded up. It had been fixed, she just had paper stuck over
It
it.
looked like it was boarded up.
And to be fair, it still did until she went to rip it, because it was, it was a brown paper. It looked like a bit of cardboard she'd like taped
It's
over
because
it.
she had it on both sides,
Yeah,
so it looked thick, like it had been boarded up.
because as soon as she took it down, I was like, nah, she did have it repaired. It's just she had it covered because she doesn't want to be operational.
That's fine. That solves
Yeah.
that problem.
Yeah, I liked how I got to see Trish, and I like most of the epilogue stuff actually until the actual reveal. I mean, had they actually done the him on the roof was Daredevil, like had the camera spun and it was
That would
him.
have been great.
That'd have been a nice moment to end on. But I get why they don't want to have him back until maybe after all the other seasons take place. It makes more sense. It does, however, like make me hope that when his season does come back, it'll almost feel a shame if there's not at least a little cameo from the other three reacting to news that the Devil's back in Hell's Kitchen. You know,
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah,
almost
that's what
want
you're
that.
saying.
You'd want that reaction of like, oh shit, he's back. But then again, maybe they'll do it so that he's mostly stealthy and like out of the public eye until maybe the end of the season, and then that's when Defender season 2 comes in and they can have
Yeah.
the reaction there.
I wonder
so.
if like if they still production wise want Daredevil before the others again for whatever reason. I wonder if they just
no, they can't. They physically can't. Sorry, they're already shooting Jessica Jones.
no, but before like Iron Fist, for example, the one that if they want Daredevil to come out before Iron Fist, I wonder
Yeah.
if when it gets to Iron Fist they just kind of go, this is set before Daredevil comes back. I wonder if they do something like that.
They might. I don't know. But I think it'll be set before, just for the reasons we've said. So Jessica's back to work, and again, she's motivated. She's a reason to want to actually go and help people now, because someone actually sacrificed themselves, and she's, it did affect her. You can see it's affected her, because she even says to Trish, like, "Oh, yeah, we saved everyone, but we lost one."
Yeah, I think one of my problems with Jessica's ending is, like okay, so Matt's ending is he's off. Iron Fist ending is different. Like he's doing his thing. He's got motivation, but Jessica's ending kind of feels like this is where we ended her season anyway. Because the end of her season was her going, all right, let's open for business.
Yeah, I think honestly, I feel like that's a fault of her season more than that is this show.
You think?
Well, at least in the sense of planning. Like, obviously, they knew they were going to do Defenders, and, like, okay, this is going to be an arc for Defenders. It's almost like they just didn't plan enough to say, oh, don't have that final scene, because that's kind of what our arc's going to be.
Maybe. I wonder if, that far in advance, they hadn't actually got that far for Defenders yet.
Probably,
They were just
yeah.
like, she's going to be in it, but we don't know what it is yet.
It's just, yeah, it might just be poor planning in that sense.
But either way, it feels like her character personally has progressed. Like you said, she's seen these things that but
Yeah, she feels,
in terms of
she feels way more motivated than she ever did, even at the end of her own season.
right. But in terms of where she physically is, it's like the exact same ending. Like so, when this picks up at in Jessica Jones season
Oh, sure.
2,
It's even a similar shot of the door shut, and like that's her final moment. Is almost the exact
Right.
same moment as her own show. But like you say, she's went through enough of an emotional change that I'm not fussed about it.
no, that's fair enough.
There's more fish to fry here. You just want to nitpick everything because you're a whiny baby.
I just wanted to see some progress. Like all the others are different. All the others ended in a very different place to where they started.
Yeah, but I think emotionally is more important than anything else. I value that more than any like sort of physical change.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if I do. Like compared to all the other three, where their shows are set up from where their previous season ended to where the next season starts, they're all in different places. It makes Defenders feel like, this is important. Whereas with Jessica, it was right, we're getting to work, and then here it's right, we're getting to work. So I don't
No, but
know.
that's what I'm saying. Emotionally is more important though, because going into season 2 of her show, she'll have this new outlook. She'll actually be dry. Because even in season 1, it was like, oh, I'll take this job for money because I'm miserable.
Yeah.
And like she kind of went down a rabbit hole because Kilgrave showed up and all the rest of it. Whereas here, I feel like no, she'll go on and she'll want. Our motivation is completely stronger than it was before. Before it was more of a recovery thing. It was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm back on my feet. But then clearly she wasn't once we actually see her in this show. But no, I will dispute that because I think the emotional difference is actually says much more about the character and why they're doing what they're doing than just the physical change of looks at. Because I mean, sure, Luke's ending is different, but I'd actually argue Luke's almost got the exact opposite problem where his ending felt almost negated immediately as soon as the show started.
No, that's fair. That is a fair problem.
Yeah, and now it's like, why couldn't we just have ended his show like that? And you're like, well, yeah, but it'd be the same. And okay, sure, but it's not like we really did anything with the prison thing. Like, it just ended immediately.
No, that's fair.
So, There you go.
I guess they're both problems then.
Um, but yeah, so no, but I like most of the epilogue stuff. Foggy and Karen reacting to it, and
Yeah,
I like how it sets her up as well for Punisher, because she's going to be in that. She's going to be one of the main characters,
yeah.
and it maybe puts her in again a darker place where these things don't work. Maybe that helps her align with Frank Castle just a little bit more, because Daredevil went down.
Right, we get it. Like doing it his way doesn't work necessarily.
Yeah, yeah.
So I get to see why she's kind of in that darker place to go with Frank.
Yeah. Now, originally we were going to do a separate video after this, talking about the sort of phase one as a whole, if you want to call it that, and kind of wrapping up all the shows. In fact, right before this video, we said we were going to do that. However, I feel like the last 10 minutes of us talking were half of what we're going to talk about in that video. So,
Yeah,
I think we'll just do that here at the end of this one, since we've already done about half of it.
yeah. Just a couple more things on this episode.
Go for it.
During the fight, it suddenly cuts to some Wu-Tang Clan playing, and that's what I expected in Luke Cage.
It's not that suddenly. There's a moment that triggers it.
No, there is, but it felt out of place, like out of tone with all the rest of the show in terms of the moments and the music.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was still, I was enjoying it, like, because I like that music. I like it when it was in Luke Cage, but it felt out of place with what the rest of the show's style had been to me.
That's fair. I think the moment would have maybe worked a little bit better had the fight substantially changed. Unfortunately, it went from fighting, they all paused, alright, light up the Iron Fist, he uses it, it throws a bunch of them back, and then they just go back to fighting almost exactly like they were before. I think if the actual style of fight had completely changed because there was a change in dynamic, it might have worked better, because it would have, the music would have went with the scene where it completely changed.
But it just felt like it was more of what we'd had before.
Yeah.
Just with a different piece of music, which, like I said, I still enjoyed it. It was a good fight. It was enjoyable. But it just didn't feel like it was the right choice necessarily.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think to sum up this season before we just talk about the whole, Netflix, Marvel, MCU, I think it was an enjoyable season that does not reach the heights that it could have. I think obviously we really like the characters, we like a lot of what they're doing, but I feel like, and we'll talk about how we rank the other stuff with it, but I feel like it ends up being kind of more middle of the road as opposed to the outright kind of, because I think compared to the movies, like, at least for me, phase one, like the Avengers was the best movie out of that bunch. I think it was kind of like this. It was the perfect encapsulation of like the promise that had been kind of made, where it felt big. It didn't feel like it chickened out, and it was a really simple plot. It was just aliens are here. We built up meeting all the team members together, and then it all built up to that final 40-minute blowout in New York where everything just went down, and it felt big. You were seeing things you felt like you'd never really seen before. You had characters like Hulk stealing the show and all that. Here, it did very much feel like, okay, we're kind of doing that, but we're doing it on a much tighter budget, so it's just going to be a lot simpler and a lot more...
Yeah, it never really delivered on being... Because obviously it's been referred to as the urban Avengers.
Yeah, and not that I expect anything like the Avengers, but it never really felt like it did something different for its final fight that we hadn't really just kind of seen before. And it makes me wonder, like, some ridiculous, like, hallway fight to end all hallway fights. Would that have been the best option to, like, have the final fight be or something like that? I don't know. I think it leads into this weird way where ultimately all the Hand get defeated and it's just them fighting Elektra, and it's like, okay, right, Elektra's good enough to beat them all because she's Black Sky and she's got extra mystical powers on top of her, crack Daredevil style training. But, like, at what point do some of the others, like, feel left out of that fight?
Yeah.
So it's...
Will say I liked both the Star Wars references in this episode.
Remind me.
So one of them was when Matt says, there's still good in you. I can feel it. Because, that's basically what Luke says to Vader, pretty much word for word.
Okay.
And then there's the other one, when the other Hand member goes off the elevator, you look down the shaft. It's like basically the same shot as when the Emperor gets thrown down. No, the way he actually moves is the same.
Okay,
I'm defending this by the fact that the MCU has had a thing of intentionally having Star Wars references throughout. Like even in Phase 2, they all had they lost a hand.
Okay, someone lost a hand here.
They did.
By the way, much better stomp than sticks, might I add.
It was, yeah.
It was an actual visual effect for a start. Like that was a helping hand. No pun intended.
No.
But I was gonna say, like, someone falling in a pit like that. That's not exactly unique to Star Wars.
It's not, but just into the exact shot was identical.
Oh, sure. You know what? You're the Star Wars nerd. I will take your word that it matches. But yeah,
All it needed was some lightning.
but like I had fun. I did want to emphasize that I had fun watching the show, and I did have fun with this finale. And there was ups and downs as we went through, and it never got too slow. There was that one episode, I think it was episode 5. We thought, meandered a bit more than the rest. Yeah. But other than that, it mostly built nicely for me in terms of like.
It's why I feel so torn though, because I had fun. Like I had fun while I was watching it, but I've got to the end and I feel like I'm missing something still.
I think the truth is you look at it at the end and you're like, okay, I was hoping, because I think season 1 of Daredevil and season 1 of Jessica Jones felt a bit more special. There was a bit more meat to the writing, and I think at the end of this, like, okay, that was good, and it maybe had better elements, like, production value maybe a little bit better, maybe a bit better fighting, but ultimately it's probably not that much deeper than some of the stuff that's on network TV, really.
Right, it looked a bit better, but
yeah, it's more of a style to it than say the CW shows. But ultimately, the actual logic of the villains and what the plot wasn't actually any better than say a season of The Flash.
Also, just something I felt like at the start we were really talking about how inventively they were using the lighting with all the colors and
things.
That
seemed to disappear.
It kind of just lost it. Like I noticed when you mentioned it, when it was that final shot where Iron Fist's over and there's all the lights in the buildings, and I kind of noticed it's like. Yeah, that wasn't there for at least 3 episodes, really. Maybe longer, I'm not sure.
Maybe longer. It was the first 2 or 3 that had that. I think they intentionally do this thing because they know once people have watched a few episodes, they'll binge the rest of it. That they load a lot of their good stuff up front, and they spend more money on the first few episodes. That's why in Daredevil and Defenders, the hallway fight's always in episode 2 or 3. Like, it's always been around that area, and I think that's really intentional, and it kind of upsets me. It's like, no, reward the people who stick around to the end of the show. Give them something big at the end.
Give something good at that point just to make sure people stick, but then you want something better.
But honestly,
you've got to top it.
I'm thinking of I guess we're switching out to talk about all the shows as a whole.
I guess we are, yeah.
But, like, do any of them end stronger than they start? That is an honest question. Any of them. Pick one.
I really like the Jessica Jones ending aside from the pill guy stuff.
Now, it does pick up again for the last 2 episodes after the pill guy episode, but I don't think those last 2 episodes are as good as the rest of it. I think the final conflict with Kilgrave is kind of lukewarm. It's okay. Like,
I mean, I'll fight you on that one, but we've been down that road before.
It plays it too simply for I think my tastes. But Daredevil. I liked the whole season, but it definitely dips towards the end. Like, I don't think the final episode is close to being its best. Like, I do think episode 2 of Daredevil is its best episode of the season. And then season 2 of Daredevil especially. Like, we loved the first 4 episodes, and then we thought, no, once we like Elektra herself. I actually really like the actress. Like, I like her performance.
I think she does a really good job.
But then, like, the rest of the hand stuff and all the stuff in season 2 of Daredevil, outside of maybe a couple of highlights with the hospital and like all the ninjas, like that was.
We weren't really into it that much, were we?
Luke Cage, strong first 7 episodes, but then second half, dips a bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like, whatever.
Just
I know a lot of people who haven't actually finished that because they got to the end of the 7 episodes and then kind of once they realised it kind of shifted, just kind of stopped watching.
And here's something else about Daredevil that I'm just thinking in retrospect. Is I feel like that show kind of lost its style a little bit again after those 7 episodes. It felt like, because for the first 7 we kept talking about how it felt like an urban western, like he was the urban
Luke
cowboy.
Cage, sorry, you said Daredevil a second ago.
Oh, did I say Daredevil? Sorry, I
yeah.
meant Luke Cage. So yeah, but he felt like the urban cowboy. Like, we talked about how the hood was like the cowboy hat, and he'd put the hood up, and it was like, and I felt like that kind of lost its like feeling, like somewhere in the second half that they kind of forgot that was their thing, and then
right.
So I feel like that.
So I'm just thinking on this show, the lighting. The last time I distinctly remember talking about it was episode 4. When they were in the restaurant and all the lights melded, like when they were going in, they were all the different ones.
No, we did talk briefly in episode 5. It was when Daredevil and Jessica were together, and there was reds and purples in the same scene.
Okay.
When he was in costume.
So definitely nothing 6, 7, and then 8 had the one moment.
Yeah, it felt like they forgot. They just kind of stopped doing it.
And so if we were talking about for the first 5, it was a really big. That was part of its style.
Yeah, and we
That
liked
was
it
a
a
big
lot
defining
because
factor for me, I think.
it's because as much as I enjoyed 6 and 7, I feel like, yeah, you look at them and in terms of style, they're a lot simpler. They're a lot more. It has a lot more people sitting in
Yeah,
rooms.
like I know you said like seven was at the time you said, oh, that was probably your favorite episode. Yeah, and that's because plot wise it's developed to its almost its peak, and the characters are they're all interacting at their most, but style, like you say, is kind of at its lowest.
Yeah, style wise, you can back to maybe 2 and 3, something like that.
Yeah,
If you're really wanting that stuff,
one
but
not so much because it was very fragmented,
yeah.
intentionally so, but you didn't really get the show style until after that.
Yeah. And I think, as much as we thought some of this was a bit more organic than the movies because it did have side characters interacting with different main characters a little bit. We had Foggy meet Luke Cage before Luke met Daredevil and so on.
Again, that kind of once the crew were all together, that kind of went away.
It really felt like they put them all in the one room just so they could be gone out the way so that the main plot could happen. And it went for some nice moments. And I actually would have forgiven it a lot if it had just cut to them more often and just had them get to know each other. Like, have Foggy talk to Trish and, like, have them, just...
Right. It's kind of a shame, wasn't it? That
Yeah.
feels like we wasted some opportunities here.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. It delivers on some stuff, and it's ultimately, they made a pretty fun show, but it does lack the substance that maybe you were hoping it was going to have.
It definitely doesn't deliver what you were hoping for near the start.
Not all of it. No.
Parts do, sure, like the characters together.
Yeah. No,
But as an overall show, as a plot, I don't think it does.
I think the plot and the villains are the biggest offence. Everything else, I think you could forgive quite a bit. Like, okay, side characters didn't interact as much, but if you were really into what the stakes were, if you were into what they were fighting for, that you would forgive a lot of other things.
But it never really defined it, did it? It was just like, well, we've got to stop the hand because they're the hand.
And I think for a lot of the season, we didn't really talk about that too much. We didn't complain about it too much because, there's still time left.
You kind of just assume that it's gonna get to it.
And I think 7 did such a good job of building up, okay, the heroes are making the choice to go and fight this fight. But then 8, unfortunately, never really clarified what the fight was for, beyond just generic, the city's going to...
Like, because no, this is it. When they went in 7, we're going to fight this fight. That was to save Danny. That was what they went for. Not to save the city, not to stop the hand, to save Danny.
Yeah, it wasn't until the very end when Colleen came in with the bombs and explained things. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. This rank, I want to rank all the seasons we've had so far, and I'm going to do something wacky here. Right, I'm going to do a little bit wacky with my rankings. So, number 1, the best of these shows, Daredevil Season 2, Episodes 1 to 4.
Oh, if we're splitting up like that, okay.
Not too much, but
right.
just...
I have... Okay, if we can split up that, can we split up Luke Cage into the 2 halves?
You can. I don't think there's a point because I'm pretty sure the second half would come right after my first half anyway.
Okay, but for me they'll be slightly different.
But stick with me. So Daredevil Season 2, Episodes 1 to 4, that Daredevil Punisher saga, those 4 episodes, that Episode 4 might even be the best episode of all of these shows.
It might well be.
It might be. I'd have to go back and rewatch Jessica Jones and just sort of go...
Yeah.
But that might be the best episode of the show, the whole thing so far. So, Episodes 1 to 4, Daredevil Season 2. And then I think I actually might put Jessica Jones Season 1 at number 2.
Oh, okay. That's changed from where it used to be.
It's flipped a little bit. I think it's on the strength of the villain. Because I do think Kilgrave is the best villain we've had.
Yeah, I mean, I remember arguing with, at the time, like we always agreed Kilgrave was better than Fisk at the time. Yeah. And others were against us.
And I like Fisk well enough. Like, I think he's fine.
Fisk's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's still one of the better Marvel villains.
Yeah, he's still better than the Hand and all that crap. So
better than 90% of the movie ones.
Absolutely. Most of the good ones are on TV. Like, I think S.H.I.E.L.D.'s got a couple of the best ones as well. Like Ada last season, like I'm ranking her up high.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Jessica Jones at number 2 because I think it has the best villain. I think it's the most complex villain. I think he was deeply sinister. What he actually did to Jessica was violating. It was like it felt super sadistic, and it made him really tough to fight. because he
It
can.
had a real personal level that Fisk never quite did.
Yeah, it was personal, but it was also something that was really tough to fight. Because ultimately, Fisk, if you get to him, you can beat him up, probably. For Daredevil.
Right, that was it. It was the challenge
Yeah,
of finding him, reaching him.
yeah. It like proving that he existed and proving that he was a crime boss. Because he was very underground. That he didn't let his thing know. Because the whole thing at the start of the show was no one even mentioned him by name.
Yeah.
He should not be named, kind of thing. Whereas, no, if you like. It was hard to fight him. It wasn't until that moment where Jessica realised that it stopped working on her that it was like, okay, now we've got a fighting chance. Like, he'd planned for so much stuff. Right, so Jessica Jones at number 2 for me. Then number 3 is Daredevil Season 1. Then number 4 is Luke Cage, Season 1. Then number 5 is Daredevil Season 2, 5 to 13.
Yeah.
And then...
The rest.
Oh, wait, no, I've missed Defenders. Hold on, sorry. I'm forgetting I've got Defenders to add in here. Defenders... It's tough.
Right.
In fact, I might actually split Luke Cage up. Now that I'm thinking about it.
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think I'll put Luke Cage 1 to 7, and then Defenders Season 1, and then Luke Cage 8 to 13, and then Daredevil 5 to 13.
And then a pile of shite.
Yeah, and then a lot of space. Like a whole, like a slaughterhouse, and then maybe like a sewage plant, and then a few other things, and then Iron Fist Season 1.
Joe, I think I'll agree with that, because I'd never thought of splitting them up before. Because for me, it was always before. It was just Jessica Jones at the top, then Daredevil Season 1.
I was thinking about this last night, and that's where I came to this realization. No, those first 4 episodes of Season 2 of Daredevil are absolutely phenomenal.
I think I agree, because I've never thought of splitting them up like that and counting them separately. But you're right. No, they are incredible episodes. They're probably they are the best this slate of shows has delivered.
Yeah.
But then they are let down afterwards. So as a season as a whole, it definitely can't put it that high.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'd probably agree with the same order because of that. Like I say, it's Luke Cage first half, then Defenders, and then the second half.
And there you go. And I think Defenders before that last episode was probably beating Luke Cage for me.
I think going by my old rules of Jessica Jones Season 1, Daredevil Season 1, until up till episode 5, I probably would have put this third.
Okay.
I probably would have put, by that it would have been Jessica Jones, Daredevil 1, Defenders, Luke Cage.
That's fair.
But by the time I've reached the end, I'm kind of like, I wanted more.
So we got Punisher coming up, which is relatively... obviously it's spun out of Daredevil, but it's not connecting to Defenders. Like, it's going to feel relatively on its own. So I'll be interested to see how they actually develop that, because it's more of an action show with him just, shooting bad guys to hell.
Yeah, we got the little trailer. It actually plays as a post-credit scene at the end of the last episode. If you let it run out, yeah.
Interesting. So you've got that, and then I guess that's the start of Phase 2 if we're counting that. I suppose it is. But then we have Season 2s of all the other shows, Season 3 of Daredevil, and they've not renewed their Defenders yet, but, I'm fairly confident if Iron Fist got renewed,
right.
I'm pretty sure Defenders will too. So, I'll give them this, at least taking Daredevil off the board, at least helps a little bit with okay, why don't they just call their friends? To a point, obviously it depends what they're going through, what they're doing, and I can see them maybe intermingling a little bit, I can see them cameoing, various points.
We got that in the cinematic stuff where once Avengers happened, we did get a few cameos here and there, little bits, just not loads, just bits.
Luke Cage popping up in Jessica, maybe Iron Fist popping up in Luke Cage, or like we said, maybe Misty spends more time in Luke Cage next season because she's with Colleen or so on. So I can see those things kind of happening. But as for the what's the big thing? What's the big threat? I really thought they might tease something big that was coming. They might give us a hint of what... You know how at the end of Avengers it was like, Thanos is coming. So it's okay, right, so we've got this big new thing we're building to.
But there's not, is there? Because obviously the hand, for all intents and purposes, is dealt with.
Oh, there better be. I want no more of it.
Gal's crushed as well, right?
I think so. She was less clear, but she was down there giving her final moments with... what's his face? So at least
because I remember her looking at it, and then the clock ticks quite low
And she
down.
was like, "Oh, this is the end." So yeah, unless she got out like Daredevil, which possible.
Well, that's the problem. If Daredevil can get out, did Elektra get out? Did Gal get out?
I think Electric. I feel like they want to have Electric pop up again,
Probably.
which is fine. Like I mean,
Yeah, it's fine. It kind of cheapens it a little bit because it was such a good moment, and the music was going. It was that the sad version of the Daredevil theme.
yeah, and it makes me wonder. Like, okay, so what's the plan for Electra now if she is alive? Like, if she does come
Right,
back,
because that's twice now. She's basically died at the end of a show.
I would
But if she
hope
comes back,
I'd hope they go with maybe a slightly Catwoman-esque kind of thing where she's kind of an anti-hero and she shows up to help, but she's not like, she's
yeah,
not going to make house with Matt. It's like, no, we're not doing that, but like I might be out there on the night when you need me, kind of thing.
yeah.
Uh, but no, it'll be interesting to see. Do you think they'll actually announce? Like, I mean, we joked about Midnight earlier on, but like, do they announce? Like, because obviously, like, the movie's phase 2. Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy's coming. Like, we've got a new thing as well as all the sequels. Like, do we get a new show as well? So that come Defenders season 2, there's like a new member.
I get that, but Punisher kind of is that new show, isn't it? Already, in a sense.
Kind of, but I don't know if I see him playing with the Defenders the same way that like someone else would.
No, but I can see him like getting, in the same way how at the end of Daredevil he kind of steps in
Oh yeah,
and helps out. I can kind of see it getting to whatever Defenders season 2 is.
Don't get me wrong. I do think he will pop in season 2 of Defenders, but what I'm talking about is I do think. I mean, I don't necessarily assume there's going to be another show with a new character, but he's not really what I mean when what I'm talking about.
No,
here.
no. I was just wondering if whatever season 2 is so bad where they're like, no, we need to call in some heavies, and they bring in him for whatever reason.
I think I'm talking about someone who more becomes like a proper member of like the group.
Right. Okay.
Maybe they won't. Maybe it'll just be what we've already established. But what I can maybe see them doing actually is introducing a new character in one of the other shows, kind of like how Punisher was in Daredevil. Someone else who'll be a proper defender, and maybe someone else who's got abilities pops up in one of the shows. I don't know if Iron Fist has got any more like sort of friendly characters, or if Luke Cage has got like a not a sidekick, but someone else that he works with.
We don't know Marvel well enough.
We don't. We're DC guys. We can't predict a lot of this shit, but. But these are the things that could happen. All these kind of elements. So
right.
But we don't seem to have a long time before Punisher. So let's hope that is more consistent. So the sad part is because it was bad from the start. Iron Fist is actually the most consistent of all the shows. It's easier to maintain that quality than it is the good stuff.
That is technically true, but I feel wrong.
If anything, it peaked at 9 with the vanilla line.
That's true.
None of the other.
That's the 9's usually the weakest part of all the others.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Defenders was already finished.
That's true. Like I say, I want Punisher to be good, but I'm kind of going, okay, it's probably going to start strong, but is it going to? Do I think it's going to stick the landing? And I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I know, because even his own stuff in Daredevil season 2, like at the end, it was like, okay, this is a bit murkier now. Like, it's not as interesting as he was in those first 4 episodes. And I don't know, like, is he a character for me at least that can sustain a long story? Like, because his character, when you boil it down, is pretty simple. It's like his family gets killed and he goes on a murderous revenge rampage against the criminals.
Yeah. I don't know if I can ever get that feeling after the first season of Daredevil and Jessica Jones, where I was like, I am hyped for this stuff now. I was in.
I think I'll still get hyped for more Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I think I can still get excited about those.
I hope I can, but at the minute I don't know, because in the sense that they've kind of everything since then has kind of let me down in some way or another. Like Luke Cage, the second half, Iron Fist, all of it. Defenders by the end.
Yeah, by the end, parts of it just didn't add up. Yeah.
Right.
So, I guess, I mean, it's funny because Iron Fist was the last one, we weren't that excited getting into Defenders. We weren't like down about it, but we weren't hyped either. And it's funny how after a couple of episodes, we're like, you know what, this may actually be really good. Like this is doing some stuff that I really like. And then by the end, it kind of was like, okay, it didn't really add up to much more than like it's surface level stuff for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I still would say I had fun watching it, but it wasn't, the big team up I'd hoped for. Not really.
Yeah, it felt lower key than I think we were hoping for or expecting. Not that I wasn't expecting something like the movies.
I don't even mean in terms of budget. I just mean there's just a good handful of things that never really added up by the end. some just strange choices throughout that just added up to, undermining it come the end.
Yeah, I hope we can get through this. I mean, the showrunner for the next Iron Fist doesn't look that hot either, to be fair. But I'm hoping that the individuals, because I think it's the same showrunner for Jessica Jones back for the next one.
That's definitely the one I'm hoping for. I've got the most hopes for, because at least
Yeah.
that on a personal level, that show hasn't had a chance to properly let me down. Yeah, in the same way that Daredevil season 2
Well,
did.
we'll just wait until the pill guy comes back.
That's exactly what I'm not looking
Because
forward
that's
to.
the thing, like, even as good as Jessica Jones was for the most part, we had that one subplot that then got its whole episode, episode 11, and it was like, oh god, I hate this one.
Yeah.
Like, so. Ah, well, that's us. I think we're done. I think we're done talking about this. So, let us know what you think of Defenders Season 1. Let us know what you think of the finale. Let us know what you think of the whole Phase 1 of the Netflix MCU TV verse. Like, by all means. And by also point out stuff, from the comics that maybe we don't know that, maybe helps add to some of this and some of the speculation. And who do you think the big bad's going to be for a future Defenders show? What are they going to build to throughout the next seasons? Let us know. So, yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can help us out over there. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. And until next time, have you got any vanilla?